So today's session is about applying Agile outside of IT development. And this is a session in a series of sessions that we have prepared for you for this week in order to celebrate 20 years out of the Agile Manifesto. We are PMI Luxembourg Chapter, a chapter of the Project Management Institute in this small country of Luxembourg, with the aim of bringing together all the project manager professionals that work in the country in order to exchange knowledge, get to know each other, and be able to learn more from each other. For this reason, as a chapter, we organize on a regular basis at least 16 hours of training, of sessions like these ones, in order to bring for you the latest news. And also, you know, before COVID time, it was a great opportunity for us to be together and be able to know each other better. For this coming period, there are also some very interesting events that will be brought to you by our events team. You see that the topics, they are really diverse and they cover a lot of interesting areas. So it would be really, really nice to see you in the sessions. Most of them are open not only to members, some of them are only for members only, like, for example, the campfire events, but we offer a lot of our sessions to non-members as well. Now, you can follow the chapter in our social media. First of all, you can follow us in our brand new website. We're very, very proud to present. It's being live. It got live in January. And we can receive your comments and ideas if you would like to improve it. We have our LinkedIn page. We have our Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter. And of course, you can follow each and everyone on the board by directly sending an email to our private emails. Before I give the floor to Amber, just a thank you to Intrasoft, who is the sponsor of the Agile Week, and also to Alvision, who is our partner, a training partner for PMI Luxembourg, who's also been supporting this event. And finally, let me share with you that Alvision is offering a 10% discount for all members that are willing to follow the training courses that they offer. So have this in mind, and if you are willing to get more into the discipline Agile or the Agile area, and you need a training session, training partner, training provider, Alvision is there for you. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I will give the floor to Amber. And Amber, may I say a few words about you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Amber is a multi-award public speaker. She's a business person, and she's also the founder of the Pathwayz group. And in 2016, she left her job, and it was in corporate HR. Amber. Yeah,
it was.
And then, as she said, the only American, only blonde academy elite football coach for the Adidas Game Day Academy in Paris, in Saint-Germain Academy, and also in Bangalore, India. Did I say it correctly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I also know that she's, apart from this, she's writing. She's preparing a book. I don't know whether she will tell us a few things about it later on, but she's a great speaker. So I don't want to say more. Just if you have questions during her presentation, you can send the questions directly to Amber in the private chat. And Amber will try to answer the questions during her presentation. But if she doesn't have a lot of time, then we'll put all the questions at the end. So saying all that, Amber, you have the floor. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very proud to host you today.
Thank you so much. All right, I am so excited. Today we are going to talk about Agile. We are going to go left, we're going to go right, we're going to go forward, we're going to go back, we're going to go left and right. We're going to keep on going, and then we're going to score big goals. that's probably not the type of agile that you're used to hearing about. It's usually not more of a sports metaphor. It's a little bit different. So when did we first begin talking about agile within our development, within our teams? In fact, whenever we first started talking about agile, I really think about a psychologist named Bruce Tuckman. Now, Bruce Tuckman came up with an idea of how teams work towards a goal. And so he had a theory that all teams go through a cycle. First, they form, they all come together. Then they go through a storming phase. In the storming phase, we discuss how are we going to work? What are we going to do? What are going to be the norms? So as we go through this storming phase, going through this discussion, we establish the norms that we are going to operate under so that we can catapult into a higher level of performance. And so all teams go through this session of forming, storming, norming, and performing. You'll notice that this is not a straight line. This is actually has a little bit of a dip. So we take this time where our performance might dip a minute while we're asking these tough questions as we're establishing those norms. But as we establish the norms, we can catapult into a higher level of performance than where we started. Now, within this theory, there actually is a fifth stage to our team development, and that is adjourning. Now, whenever we adjourn, that's after we finish our performance, whenever we adjourn, we ask the questions, what went well, and what can we do just a little bit better? This is the OG retrospective. So we ask the questions, what went well and what can we do better? And as we do that, we actually cut through the norms. We cut through those norms as we're starting at a higher level here, and we establish better norms, right? So we can improve to catapult to a higher performance. And the idea is that the more that we do this, the more that we go through this cycle, we can actually improve our performance. So this isn't something that we go through once. It's not something we go through twice. We go forming, storming, norming, adjourning, performing, adjourning. And we can continue doing this as we go higher and higher within our team performance. So the more times that we do this, we can improve our performance overall. And it's almost as if 20 years ago, the industry had a bit of a adjourning phase within itself. We had a bit of a massive industry level, macro level retrospective, where we started asking ourselves, okay, what is going well in the way that we are developing products? What is well? What is going good in the way that we are operating as a team, the way that we are managing our projects? And what can we do a little bit better? And it was out of this massive adjourning, this massive retrospective, that 20 years ago, we established the Agile Manifesto. And so the Agile Manifesto states 4 major things. So, hold on, that's chapstick. I don't need chapstick. So we said that there's 4 major aspects of Agile. So first, we are going to put people over processes. We're going to have working software over comprehensive documentation. We're going to have customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And we are going to respond to change over following a plan. Now, I'm only a few minutes into this presentation, and hear me out. I'm going to commit a little bit of agile heresy. What if we considered the possibility of altering one of the words in this manifesto? What if we considered changing the word over and substituting it with the word owned? changing it with the word owned. Now, this provides a slightly different perspective. See, rather than putting people over processes, sometimes that can put us in a position where we're putting people over our processes, and it's a bit of a hierarchy. But instead, it's people that are owning our processes. People that own processes. We have working software. We are going to have working software, working projects. It's going to own that documentation. We are going to have customer collaboration, that we own that negotiation. So there's a bit of ownership there. And it's not putting change over having a plan. It's changing a plan, or it's changing a plan that we own, right? So we are in the driver's seat. And this has a slightly different, it's slightly different within our perspective. It's a slight paradigm shift. I don't know about you, but in this COVID time, I've spent a lot of times walking around my neighborhood, because that's what I'm able to do, is walk around my neighborhood a few times. And I've seen a lot of people walking their dogs. And sometimes it appears that the person is walking the dog, and sometimes it feels like the dog is walking the person. And so by changing our perspective a little bit, it's really asking, who is in the driver's seat? What are we taking ownership of? Whenever I was also in quarantine, I also spent a lot of time with my family, and we worked on a lot of projects because we were all at home. And one of the projects that we worked on was building Plato structures. And so this is a structure that we made. It is, we actually spent a lot of time on this structure. Worked with some of my younger family members, and we had discussions of what color do we want, what shape do we want, what texture are we going to create, how big is the circle going to be. There was a lot of discussion. There's a lot of stories behind this structure. Now, as you can see, this is not perfect, and this has a lot of opportunities to be a little bit better. But because of all of the memories, because of all of the work, because of all of the discussion that went into building this structure, it's very easy for me to want to hold onto what I have created. And in our organizations, we spend a lot of time in our storming phase discussing what processes we have, the plans that we have, the documentation that we have. It can be really easy to want to hold on to what we have created. Even though this isn't perfect, there's a lot of work that went into this. But with Plato, if I simply hold on to this Plato, it will become outdated. It's going to become harder to change. It's going to become a little bit crusty. And in the same way, our organizations, if we hold them and do not mold them, they also will become harder to change. They're going to become stiff. They're going to become hard. They're going to become a little bit crusty. And so in our organizations, it's our job to not merely hold, but to actually mold into something entirely new. And you might think, Amber, thank you. This all sounds great and fine. I'm glad that we're playing with Plato, and we've already committed Agile heresy. So how do I actually do this? What does this all actually mean? How can I enact change? I'm glad that you asked. Whenever we are enacting change, I want you to stop. I want you to stop commanding the how. I want you to stop looking at that process of Agile. I want you to first clearly ask the question, what are we trying to do and why? I stated before, a few years ago, I actually moved to Bangalore, India to become the academy football coach or soccer coach for the Adidas Game Day Academy and Paris Saint-Germain Academy in Bangalore, India. So I had the opportunity to work with our team. And I realized that our teams were operating under a very strict command obey dynamic. In fact, oftentimes our players would come to our sessions and they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction. And they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for direction. They would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction. And while this may be an efficient way to complete a task, in a game scenario, it was a disaster. Oftentimes, our players within the course of a match would kick the ball perfectly, exactly the way that we taught them. And then, before the play was even over, they'd turn to the sideline to the coach for further direction and feedback. See, our teams had mastered a task, but they didn't quite understand how it applied to the overall game scenario. While it might be easy to think of this as an international academy in sports with kids, how often do we go to work, receive a task, and wait for instruction? And so, in order to transform our academy, we began with a slight shift in our communication. Rather than saying stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction, we provided challenges. So from here, kick the ball to knock down those 3 cones. Because in order to do that, you're going to have to kick with power and precision. And in a game scenario, whenever you pass, whenever you kick, whenever you shoot, you're also going to have to kick with power and precision. From this, I saw some of the most heated debates I'd ever seen amongst 7-year-olds, trying to decide if the best way to kick the ball was with the infoot or with the laces. In reality, both ways were right. And so we were able to expand our toolbox of resources to complete our what. This is a shift in our communication. It's a shift in our focus from what are we doing and how are we doing it to what are we doing, why is that important, and what tools can I pull from my toolbox to use within the how. It's providing an opportunity for ownership. Now, whenever we are creating our products, we ask, what do we want to create? Why is that important? And what tools from our Agile toolbox can we use in this scenario to help us reach that goal? The what, this is important, the what is not Agile. We're not coming into a team and saying, we are being more agile. No, the statement is we are improving our process. That's what we're doing. Why we are doing this is so we can work more effectively, or you can find your why. How we are doing that is we have a toolbox of resources that we can use as a method, as a way to achieve our what. And so whenever we are working within our teams, it's important that we understand our what and our why and provide opportunities for ownership within the how. Now, there are at least 4 opportunities for ownership that we found within our teams. There were aspects of the game and aspects of football that we could not change, but we found that we had at least 4 opportunities for ownership within our processes and within our methods and within our projects and within our roles. And so as we were working within our teams, we were asking ourselves, how can we provide more ownership within our processes? How can we provide more ownership within our roles? And so this is a way that we started really transforming our team. And so whenever you go into a team that is outside of development, I encourage you to ask, what are we trying to accomplish? The end goal, Agile is a method to get to that end goal. We're not coming into a team and saying, we're going to be Agile. I know all of these tools. No, we're saying, what do we want to accomplish? What is the goal? Why do we want to do this? And what tools can I use for my Agile toolbox that can help with that? Now, there is one really, really, really important thing that I left out that we should do first before we ask what and why, whenever we come into a new team or a team that is unfamiliar with Agile. Does anyone know a really big thing that I left out first? Okay, all right. So the first thing that we need to do is to say hello, is to actually build those relationships, right? So that what and why, some people might not know what that what and why is. Yeah, actually knowing each other, actually building those relationships. So whenever we're coming into a new team, keep in mind, most people don't exactly know what the Agile Manifesto is. They might not know they might not know any of these tools. So coming in and using these tools, it might provide a little bit of confusion. And so first, we need to build relationships. We need to actually have a conversation first. So this can be really easy to rush through. It can be really easy to come into a team and say, okay, I know I need to build relationships. So hello, my name's Amber. Hello, my name's Amber. Hello, my name is Amber. All right, now we can move forward. We've all met, we're acquainted, and now we're moving forward. In fact, I'm going to give you an opportunity right now in this very moment to build relationships with other people right now. So you can actually put in the chat your name and your contact information. So that could be your LinkedIn or your Twitter, and we can begin building connections right now. And as you're doing that, it can be really easy to collect a lot of connections and say hello, and then move forward with that what and that why. But I encourage you to go one step deeper. Again, it can be easy whenever we come into a team to say hello, 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 and then move forward. And then you're only knowing the person's name. We're looking for that next hand to shake. Sometimes we'll go one step deeper and we know the person's name and what they're working on or what value they can provide in this project or what position that they have. So we might have some idea of the organizational setup. And that's going to go one step further. But I'm going to challenge you today to go even a third step, As you are connecting with people, and this is the practice that we can have today. This is why we're putting things in the chat. I encourage you to actually have a conversation. Not just collect connections and know everyone's status on the organizational chart, but actually understand the person and the people behind the team. Here, we're asking really meaningful questions. And so we're asking, what are the challenges that you are facing? How comfortable are you with change? If you have a team that is really hesitant about change in general, then you need to be mindful of that as you are implementing Agile within that new team. If you are with a team that is really adaptable to change and they say, hey, we want to try a lot of new things. Give me a lot of tools. I want to try. Okay, this is great. This is going to be something that we can know. We need to know what challenges are being faced. Know the team dynamic. If the team is struggling with communication as a whole, then that is really, really important for you to know as you're moving forward. So I encourage you, as you are building relationships with your team, and as we're building relationships within our chat right now, this is a free networking opportunity, and then I encourage you to not just collect connections, but to actually invite a conversation, to say hello and actually sit down and speak. And so as we are asking these questions, we can have a better pulse on what the team needs are. And we can best serve the team, and we'll know which Agile tools are going to best serve that team. Also, this is really important because The team is the one that's going to be critical. They are going to be necessary. They're going to be the ones leading that agile success. It's not you coming in and giving a lot of agile tools. It's equipping and preparing and empowering the team moving forward. See, if we can implement agile all on our own, then we're probably not doing it correctly. We're not. We need the other people, right? So if we can achieve these goals all on our own, then we're probably not dreaming big enough. In fact, this is a lesson for life. If we can achieve our dreams all on our own, then we're probably not dreaming big enough. If we're going to do something bigger than ourselves, then we're going to have to include more than ourselves. And so actually knowing people and engaging in true connection and relationship is critical and really important. I think I had someone was asking a question. Okay, maybe not. Okay, so conceptually, this is what we need to do, right? We are going to say hello, build relationships, clarify that what and why, and then know what tools. And we can go to our toolbox and pull out the agile tools to actually help our teams moving forward. How can we do this actually in application? What are some case studies of this actually being done? I can give you a few examples in a variety of different teams outside of development. In fact, a few years ago, I was working with an HR team in a corporate team that had grown exponentially. The company had grown, and the HR department specifically had grown from a team of 5 to a team of 23. And with that growth, the processes that they had whenever they were a team of 5 were crippling the department as they were growing. In an effort to get a lot of things done, there was a lot of double work being done. There was a lot of the cycle times were getting longer and longer. They were trying to communicate more because there were more people, and so there was more documentation, not as much actual communication, and that was affecting the overall process as a whole. In fact, the cycle times, this is the time from application to the time of hire for an entry-level position, was 3 to 5 months within the department. And so went into the department and we asked, what do we want to do? What is something that we can improve? Now, there was a lot of different opportunities within the HR department as a whole, but we focused on one specific thing. We wanted to get a small win, right? We wanted to use our tool in one situation first. What is something that we might be able to improve within the team? So we were focusing on application cycle times. What do we want to do? We want to improve our application cycle time. We want to bring on especially entry-level employees in a quicker pace. Why do we want to do that? We want a better applicant experience, and we want to be able to fully have a fully staffed team within the organization. And so now we've clarified our what and our why. What are some things within our how that might be able to help us moving forward? So within this team, the tool that we decided to use, we used a couple different tools. We decided to use a Kanban board first. So we had a Kanban board where we could move names from interviewed, offered, negotiated, and this was a large Kanban board that we used to help provide better communication. In fact, we had multiple people that were recruiting for the same types of positions. So for the same types of positions, we also had people that were doing double work. We had people that would say, oh, you interviewed that person, I just interviewed that person. And so there was some miscommunication of what was going on. Here with a board, we could actually see, okay, where is this person within the process? It provided clear communication. We actually had micro teams so that we could have more cross functionality rather than, so we had clarification of our roles, and we would have stand-ups as well at the beginning of each one of our recruitment cycles to actually clarify any questions, say, how is this going? What can we do better? How is this going? Is there anything that we need right now? And then we can move forward. And so this quick moment of implementing a Kanban board, going into more micro teams so we can have cross functionality, and using stand-ups actually dramatically affected the way that we were using and the way that we were processing our applicants. In fact, this dramatically affected our processes. We actually shortened our application time from 3 to 5 months to 3 to 5 weeks, because we had a more streamlined, we had more streamlined process, we had better communication, and we had better communication within the actual team. Now, this is a ton of different agile tools. This is a few tools that I could pull out of my box to have a really big impact. Now, we don't just have to be in corporate. We don't have to be in a large organization outside of development to use agile tools. In fact, I actually was working with a nonprofit organization, and the thing that was owning them, right? So we're looking at, in that situation, that was the process was owning the people. And so by using our agile tools, we were able to flip that into people were owning the process. Now, whenever I was working with a nonprofit, I actually found that they really had a great heart and were helping a lot of people. But to call it scope creep, I think, is an injustice. It was a little bit of a scope invasion. And in fact, we had a team that started off with about 5 projects, and very quickly it had turned into 73 different projects. This is scope invasion. And this really came from a heart and a want to help a lot of people, right? So you're doing one project and someone else says, oh, we have a need here. And so, right, so then your focus looks like this. And so for one project, it's very, very little focus all at one time. And so here you can hardly see any straight lines of focus at all. And so what we did is we created a backlog of all of the projects that we had. This was actually really freeing, because if there was a situation where they could add another project, we just put that into a very long thing of these are things moving forward. And then we pulled one project out and we designed sprints for those projects. These weren't extensive projects. These were maybe 1 week, 2 week. These were shorter projects that were taking a very, very long time to complete because the focus was so divided. And so by creating a huge backlog of this is everything that needs to be accomplished, we're going to pull 1 or 2 out. We're going to do a sprint where we're really going to focus on completing this one project. And then we're going to have a retrospective at the end and ask, what can we do better? What went well? What can we change moving forward to be more effective? So then the next time that we pull 1 or 2 projects out and complete those, we focus on that and we have a sprint, we can actually operate better. And so we're not trying to complete 73 projects with the exact same methods and the exact same approach moving forward. In fact, every single time, right, it's that same as Bruce Tuckman, every single time that we go through this cycle, we're going to start at a higher level than when we did our first project, right? We're going to continuously improve at a higher level. And in fact, the team was able to create a system. They were able to use these agile tools to be more efficient, to actually complete and help more people by using these simple tools. And so if somebody came, they had a backlog, they had a design sprint of how are we going to complete this project. And again, these were 1 week, 2 week projects. And then we are going to do a retrospective, come back, and we're going to improve moving forward. And so the team was actually able to complete significantly more projects and be a better help overall. Again, this was a nonprofit that was helping a lot of people. So this was really important. Now, we've talked about corporate. We've talked about, okay, how to do this in a corporate environment, how to do this in a nonprofit environment. What if we apply Agile outside of work altogether? We have teams outside of work. In fact, I guess it was 2 years ago now, right before the pandemic, I actually had the opportunity to go with a group of my friends to Thailand for a month. And so we actually went on it was a month-long holiday, and this required a lot of planning. This especially required a lot of planning because everyone in our friend group lived in different states. We had different professions. We had different work schedules. We had a lot of different, a variety of different backgrounds and needs and focuses and desires of what we wanted to complete all within this month. So this required a lot of planning. And so we actually recognized at the very beginning, whenever we were planning the trip, that it would be very easy to have our plan own the trip. And this couldn't happen, especially whenever we miss the bus and whenever we miss the train, but we never missed a plane. So we had an opportunity where we really had to respond to change of a plan. We had to respond to change of an owned plan. And so what we did is every single morning, we would have a stand up and we would have a conversation, say, okay, this is what the plan is for today. Are there any adjustments that we need to make? Are there anything that we need to address right now? And so we would have a stand up. We had a plan of what we were going to do throughout the day. We did have a midday quick get together and say, okay, how's it going today? What do we need to do differently? Do we need to make any adjustments? What's going really well? What do we need to continue? So we'd have a quick get together in the morning, in the afternoon, and then at the end of every single day, we would have a retrospective. And we would say, okay, what's gone well? What do we need to change for tomorrow? Again, this was for an entire month. And so rather than waiting till the end of the month, because we're planning on going on trips after this trip, once we're able to do so safely with COVID. And so rather than waiting an entire month at the end of the trip to have these conversations, we actually had them on a daily basis because every day was a lot different. We were doing a lot within the holiday. And so while we were having these conversations, the first day of the trip and the last day looked very different in the way that we communicated. We adjusted the way that we spoke within the team. We adjusted the way that we approached transportation. So we didn't miss any more of our transportation because we didn't want to miss any more buses or trains, and especially not a plane. And we also we were also adjusting the way that we were operating as a team. And this was really important because it allowed an opportunity for us to respond to change or following a plan of this is exactly what we're going to do every single day. And if we miss something, disarray. No, that's not what happened. If we miss something, we said, okay, we've gone through this. We've had a conversation. What changes can we make? How can we take ownership of the plans that we had? And so you are able to apply Agile in a variety of different settings. These are 3 very different examples. And you'll notice that I did not use the same tools every single time. The first thing, I built relationships and then I asked what Agile tool is going to be beneficial in this scenario to help us reach that to help us reach that goal. You'll also notice that, especially with the corporate team that I was working with and with the nonprofit, there was a lot of opportunities to implement Agile. There's a lot of things that we could have done, but we focused first on one aspect, right? What's one challenge that we can help, that an agile tool might be helpful. And then as you are helping that team implement those few tools to accomplish that goal, then that is how we empower other people to use those agile tools. You can open up a conversation for what challenge do we want to take on next? Is there another situation in which agile tools will be really, really helpful? And you'll notice I didn't use a lot of agile tools. Some of these these are very more of the simple agile tools that I can use, but they really had a powerful impact. So I just used a few ones really, really well to help empower, to help build momentum moving forward. Not going into a lot of the agile tools that exist because you guys are here, and I am going to assume that you know a lot of agile tools within your personal toolbox. And so in this situation, this is an opportunity for you to use the tools within your toolbox to help actually implement change. Now, I have given you, I think those are all people connecting. So that's great. I love that. Now I have given you a lot of information. I've given you a lot of information. And sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. Sometimes there's a lot of tools that we can use. There's a lot of opportunities where we want to implement Agile. And all of this actually reminds me of one of my players that I used to coach whenever I was coaching football. And he was a young lad, and he was about 6 years old, and his name was Achintya. This is whenever I was coaching in India. And Achintya was so excited because this was his very first day of football. And so he came running out onto the field and he began yelling, "Pass, pass, pass!" And I noticed that Achintya was yelling pass even whenever the other team had the ball. And Achintya was yelling pass even whenever he was miles away from the action. And Achintya was yelling pass even whenever he had the ball. And so then he was running with the ball, going, "Pass, pass, pass!" And so I looked at Achintya and I said, "Achintya, why are you yelling pass?" And he looked up at me and he said, "My center, I do not know what it means. I only know it is a football word." And sometimes it can be really easy to sound like my friend Achintya. We have a lot of tools in our toolbox. There's a lot of words that we know, and especially as we're helping other people and empowering other people to use Agile, it can be very easy to say, retrospectives, continuous integration, CI/CD, Agile. We're gonna do our stand-ups. We're gonna do design sprints. We are going to be more Agile. Woo! Because we know that all of these are really good words. These are really good tools that can lead to really, really big goals. But if we're in the wrong position, if we're miles away from the action, or even if we have the ball and we don't know in which direction we're going, because we haven't clarified where we're going, what we're doing, and why that's important, then saying these words, they're not only ineffective, but they're actually detrimental to the overall communication within the team. Coming in saying, "Hey, we need to do stand-ups, we need to do retrospectives, we need to do design sprints, we need to do all," and we don't know in which direction we're going, that's going to be detrimental to the team. Eventually, the team is going to tune you out. But we first take the time to build relationships. We first take the time to say hello and build relationships. We clarify our what and our why. We know exactly where we're going. We collaborate with the team to find what tools are going to be most effective to help us achieve that what and that why. And we achieve a small win in one area then we can build momentum. We can build off of that momentum and build off of those small wins to help our teams, to help other departments, to help other organizations, or even to help in your personal life and your personal teams become more agile, to say pass, to move forward, and to score really, really big goals. I want to thank you all so much for having me today. I see that there have been some questions in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about implementing Agile outside development. I realize that I am in between two sessions that are very specifically about implementing Agile within development. So hopefully, as you're taking those tools of this is what we can do inside of development today, this will give you a format so that you can implement that outside of development into other departments within your team and within your personal life as well.
Thank you, Amber. It was
Thank
really
you.
enjoyable. Yeah. Thank you very much. You know, I was following up on the chat and all the LinkedIn accounts that were being posted there, and so many people I would like to connect and meet. Thank you very much. I've noted a couple of questions. So let me share a couple of them with you. There's one question about, so actually what you mean is being agile outside the development is actually being lean. So you can say,
being lean.
Yeah.
I heard you say mean for a minute. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, being lean. Yeah, there is an aspect of being lean. Yeah, and I think especially within the HR, there was some concepts of lean as we were improving that process specifically. Mm-hmm.
So lean is probably a very good tool to use to follow.
Exactly. Yeah,
I totally
and
agree.
that's again, it's another tool that you can use, and the larger that your toolbox gets, then that's more tools that you can use. And so it's very much that concept of if the only thing that you have is a hammer, then everything you look at is a nail.
Yeah,
But if you have more tools in your toolbox, you're able to actually see ask the right questions and see, okay, maybe a hammer is not the best in this situation, maybe I need to use a screwdriver.
You're absolutely right, and I think during these sessions this week, we're learning a lot about different tools, and this is the idea behind having tools that you can use in different situations. So I have a question that I wanted to ask you before. So okay, you set up the way of building up the team. When is the best time you think to set up the rules of the game? Because okay, once you set up the team, then okay, you do this communication and get to know each other better and understand and getting the feeling of each other. But every game has its rules. So when do we when do we set these rules?
So I do that within the storming phase. So I do that within the storming phase. So I actually get really specific, especially whenever I am coming into a new team, whenever we are starting a new project, or whenever we're taking on a new client. All of those are triggers, all of those are cues for me to go through, for our team to go through that storming phase and ask, how are we going to, what are the rules of this game, right? So, and we'll actually get really specific and say, okay, an example would be, we understand that throughout this process or throughout this project, there's probably going to be tension. It's probably going to be conflict. How are we going to handle that? And that's how specific that will, and we'll get very specific of, if we're going to say, okay, we're going to talk about it, we actually outline what that conversation is going to look like. And that's how specific we will lay out those norms, we'll go through that storming process. So we establish those norms. And so what that does is whenever we, what is that? So whenever we go through that storming process and we establish those norms, once we're here in the performing stage, we don't have to come back to this storming phase, right? So we don't have to come back through right then, right? So we can focus on the performance. And then once we adjourn, that's whenever we cut through the norms again and say, okay, how are we going to reassess the game rules that we have? And so really through that storming phase, and again, those are the triggers that we use within our team is, okay, we're taking on a new client, we have new team members, we have a new project. And then if none of those things have happened in a sizable amount of time, we'll have either like a quarterly review or something like that. We'll say, hey, let's kind of reassess and see where we're at moving forward.
Small retrospectives.
Right.
There is also another question from Xavier. Xavier is asking, what happens with people when people are reluctant to build relationship in a team?
Ooh, I'm so glad that you asked that question. So it can be really easy to want to force relationships and say, okay, I know that relationships are important, so let's be, so tell me your deepest secrets and desires. It's important to create exit doors or create an opportunity for people to share however much they feel comfortable with. And if someone is uncomfortable with sharing a lot of information, if they are if they're uncomfortable with really being with sharing a lot of information, it's important to be respectful of that and not push You can build relationships in a variety of different ways. In fact, there is a couple teams that I've worked with that we have built our relationships through board games or through fun games. And so that's actually really interesting because we realized years later that we didn't exactly know a lot of personal information about each other, very little information, but we knew a lot about each other's character because we knew, okay, they are honest within games, they communicate well in this situation, this is how they respond under stress, this is how they strategize in this area. And so that was a different way where that team specifically didn't really feel comfortable sharing a lot of personal information. And so we focused more on doing games to understand a little bit more, to build that trust within character. And so you have to be really cognizant of that, right? So you have to be really respectful of, hey, this person might not be comfortable sharing information. I think sometimes there's a perception of I have to share my deepest, darkest dreams and desires to have that relationship, and that's not the case at all. The real focus there is building trust, is building that trust, and so that can be established in a variety of different ways. And so if someone is reluctant to build a relationship, I would encourage you to not say, hey, we have to have a relationship, we have to, but actually be respectful of that, and try and find that middle ground of where you can meet someone. And that's going to take a little bit of creativity, and it is going to take you actually asking those questions of that person specifically. But yeah, there are people within some of the teams that we've worked with that they only feel comfortable sharing up until a certain point. It's fine. We'll be respectful of that. They feel comfortable sharing in a different dynamic. That's fine too. And so we're finding the best way to meet people where they're at. Mm-hmm.
And I guess this process is a time-consuming one. So you have always to have in mind that time is needed. Trust mm-hmm. is always needs some time to be built.
Trust takes time. Yeah. Trust takes time.
So I don't have any other questions. I still have one very nice remark that I want to share with you. It's from Bill. It says, remembering that fool with a tool is still a fool. So
that is very true.
So thank you very much, Amber. It's really an honor. It was really a pleasure to have you today with us from so far away from Luxembourg, the other side of the globe. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed as much as we did. I hope all of us we did enjoy it. And before I let everybody go, let me share my screen now for an ending of this session. Yeah. So you see again in my screen, I'm just reminding you of the offer of our partner Vision about the 10% discount of the training programs they offer on Agile. I would like to share. Okay. You see my screen or not? Amber? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Then, but why do I cannot change the, okay. Okay. Let me remind you of our sponsor interest for today and Alvision. A very big thank you to our sponsors of our chapter on a regular basis, which is PricewaterhouseCoopers, the Chambre de Commerce de Luxembourg, Deloitte, Inf Europe, and EY. There is a framework of let's say ways you can become a sponsor. Your company can become a sponsor if you wish to sponsor us. But the most important, and what I urge you to do, is join us, become a member of our chapter, become a member of PMI. If you like what we are doing, if you like what you have enjoyed today, there is room for everybody, and all ideas are welcome. Thank you very much. You can see the PDU claim code for today's session. Thank you very much, Amber. It was really a pleasure, and I hope to see you again. I'm Nasos Karagioriadis. Thank you very much for being with us today, and hope to see you again in one of our coming sessions.
Thank you all so much. It was an absolute pleasure. Would love to connect and continue the conversation. Have a good
Great,
one.
Amber. Thank you very much. Have a great morning.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Without too much cold.
Yeah.
Sorry. For all of you who might have missed the PDUs from the previous sessions, I've just copy-pasted them in the chat, so it's easier for you to mark them as well.